Hello, all. Welcome to my very yellow lit room. I am going to be talking about Mirror Mirror because you bitches don't talk about this movie enough, honestly. What do you know about Mirror Mirror? What do you know about Lily Collins? Before she was Emily in Paris, she was Snow White and she served. All right, let's jump right in. The movie begins with Julia Roberts doing a little info dump in this little mirror realm thing. Do you guys like my knife, by the way? It's fake. I got it at the Renaissance Fair. I thought it matched the theme, so I clipped my little microphone to it. So Julia Roberts begins the movie with a little info dump, and she kills, literally. But she's talking about Snow White and her dad, and she literally has beef with this 12-year-old. And we learn that Snow White's dad died under mysterious causes. And so Julia Roberts is now Snow White's caretaker. And then we meet Snow White! She doesn't have anything to say. But we meet Snow White, who is Lily Collins, and honestly, this costuming in this movie fucking kills. Like, look at that dress. I don't know if you can see that all the way over there, but look at that fucking dress. It's beautiful. But Snow White basically doesn't leave the castle, and her mom is also crazy abusive stepmom. Julia Roberts, who is playing chess with people right now. And Snow White sneaks down and looks around, and she's like, ooh, what's going on? And Julia Roberts verbally abuses her. We also learn that Julia Roberts is flat baroque, like the dean. Flat baroque. And she needs to marry rich so she can continue on her extravagant lifestyle. Which, as you can see, it's very extravagant. And then we meet the prince. He's played by Armie Hammer. Jump scare. So Armie Hammer is traveling with his gay assistant, who we don't see for most of the movie, unfortunately. This movie is pretty big on gay assistants, because Julia Roberts also has a gay butler. But Armie Hammer is riding through the woods on his horse when all of a sudden he gets absolutely owned by 7 dwarves. Yup, this is Snow White. So they take Armie Hammer in gay sidekick's clothes and hang him up by a tree. Meanwhile, Snow White goes down to the kitchen and she meets Kitchen Wench Girl. She is her mentor figure, okay? And they are all wishing her happy birthday because they like her way better than the queen. And she just turned 18. Kitchen Wench Girl is like, hey, Snow White, now that you're 18, you need to go and rule your kingdom because all the people are poor and sad. Here's a dagger that your father wanted you to have. Here you go out to the village and, rule your fucking people. Are you stupid? And we get this cute little scene where Snow White goes up to the palace gates and she's like, let me out. And the guards are like, can she do that? And the other guard is like, I won't tell if you won't. I just love this trope. Bumbling guards not being able to do their job. Love that trope. So Snow White leaves in this yellow cloak. Yeah, yellow cloak. Skip. Julia Roberts. Yellow. Beautiful use of yellow in this movie, by the way. Julia Roberts goes to her secret mirror realm, which is kind of fucking sick. Like, she goes up to a mirror, and I thought, she's gonna look in the mirror, she's vain. No, she walks through that bitch. This had me breathless as a child, okay? I was looking at mirrors as a kid, I was pounding on them, I was trying to get in, alright? But alas, I am here, and I don't get to meet Mirror Julia Roberts. Oh yeah, the magic mirror is also Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts? Julia Rob Hurts. Fuck Jonah Hill, dude. So Julia Roberts goes up to Julia Roberts and she's like, can you believe that crusty, stupid man wanted to marry me? Because the Baron proposed in the beginning. Sorry, I left that out. She's like, can you believe that crusty, stupid man proposed to me? And Julia Roberts, Mirror Julia Roberts, is like, well, girl, you might as well take it. You're flat baroque. You are too vain. You spend too much money on yourself. You need to get married. You need to marry rich and you need to marry quick, basically. And Julia Roberts is like, yeah, but I wish that whoever I married was hot. No uggos. No uggo, please. Only rich hotties. Honestly, she's kind of relatable. I hate to say it because she's the villain. But yeah, only rich hotties. So we jump back to Snow White, and she is walking around in this winter wonderland in this fuck-ass yellow coat, like piss on snow, girl. And she comes across Armie Hammer and Gay Butler. And she's like, how'd you get up there? And Armie Hammer was like, gigantic bandits tied us up and stole all of our clothes. And she's like, well, I guess I'll just have to cut you down. And then she does. Floored. Floored. So after she cuts him down, Army Hammer and Snow White have little romantic vibes, romantic tension, but he doesn't know that she's a prince. And she doesn't know. Wait. He doesn't know that she's a princess, and he doesn't know that she's a prince. Sorry. Very rom-com vibes. He's like, we're going north. Like, kind of implying that he wanted her to come with her. And she's like, sorry, bud, I'm going south. And so they part ways. Back at the palace, Julia Roberts is deciding what she wants to wear when Gay Butler storms in and is like, there is a young, rich hottie who is naked in your foyer. Foyer. And Julia Roberts is like, no fucking way. All my prayers have been answered. Crazy. And so we meet the prince. It's Army Hammer's surprise. I think it was a mystery up until this point. So it's like, but like no one's shocked because there's only so many young rich hotties out in the world, especially in the Snow White universe. But Julia Roberts is kind of real. She's like, I'm going to marry this bitch. And you're telling me you wouldn't? The one thing that you need, a young rich hottie who is single, is plopped right in front of you and you wouldn't jump on that? Get real. But she's like, I need to seduce this prince and I need to seduce him fast. How do I do that? I'm gonna throw a ball. And Gay Butler is like, girl, you can't throw a ball. You're flat broke. I wonder how many times I'm gonna do that. And Julia Roberts is like, I don't care if I'm broke. Tax the people. I want to throw a party. And Gay Butler is like, girl, the people are so poor. And she's like, I don't care. Cut to Snow White in the village. She's walking around looking rich as hell, by the way, and this little kid comes up to her and is like, do you have any money? And she's like, why aren't you singing and dancing? Because if you remember from the beginning of the movie, when her father ruled, all the people sung and danced all the time. So she's like, why aren't you singing and dancing? Like, she's damn near about to get them lessons. And he's like, I'm poor. And she's like walking around. She's becoming a class conscious queen. She's like looking around. She's like, damn. When all of a sudden Gay Butler is like, all right, more taxes time. And they're like, more taxes, we are going to die. And he's like, do you want to be saved from the beast in the forest? Oh yeah, there's a beast in the forest. But Snow White acts all surprised that her stepmother is evil, as if she didn't get verbally abused by Julia Roberts literally 10 minutes ago, but whatever. She's like, this is evil. Snow White goes down and meets Kitchen Wench mentor figure, and she's like, the queen is evil. And Kitchen Wench mentor figure is like, yeah, obviously. But Kitchen Wench mentor figure is like, don't let Miss Gorgina bully you. Gorgina. Don't let Miss Gorgina bully you, girl. Okay? You're the rightful heir to this kingdom. They're your people. Do something about it. Honestly, good pep talk. But she's like, you have to do something about it. You're gonna crash this ball. How crashing a ball will help? I don't know. Maybe by giving Snow White some agency? I guess. Anyway, Snow White's going to crash the ball. We cut to Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts, the queen. And she is doing skin care, bitch. She is doing skincare. She is getting bird diarrhea smeared on her face. She is having fish bite her fingers. She is getting youngified. She's getting Botox. I actually don't think that she does Botox in here, but she's doing a crazy, weird skincare routine. It's a lot. But she's trying to bag this prince with the ball, which is now, by the way, the ball's now. And it is beautiful because this movie is very visually beautiful. Like, the costumings are incredible. The sets are beautiful. But I really cannot stress enough how beautiful these costumes are. This ball is like a white cream type of ball. It's also kind of a masquerade ball, but not really, because you can just see people's faces. I don't know. I guess it's a wear a mask if you want. Me personally, my face gets too sweaty for masquerade masks, so I'd probably just paint one on because I still think they're fun. But Snow White shows up in this killer fucking look. Okay, bitch, killer look. Swan. Like, she showed up and she showed out. Like, it's gorgeous. Who did the fucking costuming for this movie? I'm gonna Google it. Okay, Iko Ioshka. Iko girl, you slayed. Anyway, Julia Roberts is the only one in a red dress and a white ball because of course she is. So in character. Bit of world building, yeah. Bit of world building. Julia Roberts wearing red in a white ball. Bit of world building. That is so like her, yeah. But guess who else is wearing red? That's right, Army Hammer, because he's a cannibal. No, Army Hammer's wearing red because if you remember, he's being dressed by the Queen because he got stolen from and all of his clothes are missing. And he looks fucking stupid, by the way. Everyone showed up and showed out, and he looks dumb as fuck. And everyone in this scene comments on it. Like, they're like, you look stupid. And he's like, I guess I do look stupid. But anyway. Like, he looks like the magician's assistant gone wrong. Like, the bunny's coming out of the hat early. Are you joking? The amount of slang in this movie is so unreal, and Army Hammer genuinely gets none of it. Like, Julia Roberts, she is in this beautiful peacock. Like, Julia Roberts, she is in this beautiful peacock attire. All right, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. Snow White, she has the swan thing going on. Army Hammer looks like he went to Party City and picked out the first three things he saw and just glued some ears on a fucking hat and went, yeah, sure, this is fine. And this is what he wears to get reacquainted with the love of his life, Snow White. I would be embarrassed. But anyway, they're paired up for dancing. It's very cute. It's one of the dances where you have to switch partners, and he keeps changing the partners and pushing them away. And Julia Roberts keeps looking for him, but he's dancing with Snow White. But Julia Roberts can't see Snow White's face because of like people are in the way. It's a cute little sequence. This is a very cute movie. But they're flirting, they're flirting, they're flirting, and then Snow White is like, all right, let's cut the shit. The queen's evil, and I need help taking back my kingdom. She's taxing the people, and they're all gonna die because they're so poor. And before he can respond, right at that moment, Julia Roberts realizes that it's Snow White. Gay Butler is going to go get her, and so she runs out. She's like, I have to go. It's very Cinderella. Wrong fairy tale. Like, even her headpiece got left. Like, this is Cinderella. Anyway, Julia Roberts is lecturing Snow White, and she's like, bitch, what are you doing at the ball? And Snow White is like, bitch, this is my kingdom. And Julia Roberts is like, you shouldn't have outserved me at my ball. Now I'm going to have you killed, by the way. I'm going to have you killed, by the way. She's like, Brighton, kill this dumb whore. And so Brighton, who is dressed as a cockroach, by the way, very cute because later he gets turned into a cockroach. Spoilers! So Snow White is distressed and beside herself because she's literally about to die. Honestly, Queen, run, you know? But she's trying to reason with Brighton, and she's like, you don't have to do this. You can just let me go. Like, I'll run away. Like, I won't cause issues for you. And Brighton's like, you shouldn't have served cunt so hard at the ball. Like, if you didn't serve cunt so hard, she wouldn't be so mad at you. But then he hears the beast, and he's like, you know what, Snow White? Actually, you're right. You don't want to die like your father did. And he was a good man. He was really good to me. So you can just like run away now because I'm scared. And so he runs and she runs. And she runs fast. She runs hard. She runs so fast and hard that she runs directly into a tree branch right outside of the dwarf's house. Like, Miss Girl's gonna die. I guess I can't blame her. I wouldn't do any better in her situation. So Brighton brings back a bag of sausage for the queen, and is like, here's her heart and entrails. And the queen is like, perfect. So glad she's dead. Now we have to make all the announcements. Skip the flags. Too much effort. We'll just like do it. Whatever. It's fine. And Brighton is like, okay, word. Snow White. This is a beautiful shot, by the way. I think this is just so gorgeous. But Snow White wakes up with 7 strange tiny men staring at her. I would be screaming. Home is honestly very beautiful. Like almost every single other thing in this movie, it's very, very beautiful. Anyway, Snow White's like, who are you guys? And they're like, who are we? Who are you? And she's like, bitch, I'm Snow White. And they're like, no way you're Snow White. Snow White's deformed. Julia Roberts was out here smearing Snow White's name. She was taking out the fucking competition. She had beef with this girl. But anyway, they're like, prove it. Who's your dad? And she's like, the king. And they're like, damn, it's Snow White. So they're like, all right, you're Snow White. We're going to hold you for ransom. And she's like, no, you can't hold me for ransom. The queen wants me dead. And they're like, all right, then we're going to kick you out. And she's like, no, let me stay for like one night. One night, please. All I need is one night. And they're like, fine, whatever. We're going out to work. By the way, their work is thieving. If you remember, they're the thieves. Anyway, the dwarves go out and rob Gay Butler because he is yet again collecting taxes from the poor people in the village. And they come home and they see that Snow White has girled, and she has girled hard. She has made them a beautiful feast. And they're all like, wowza. One does a really funny bit where he basically sniffs and floats to the table on a cartoon cloud. And he starts naming what he smells. Lamb. Carrots. Anyway, Snow White notices that they have palace guard uniforms. And she's like, where'd you get those? And they're like, work. And she's like, work? And they're like, we are thieves, actually. And she's like, okay, slay. What is this in? Picks up a bag of gold. What's this, guys? They're like, it's the queen's gold. We robbed them. And she's like, cool. Robbing the queen, really cool. Except for this is not the queen's gold. It's actually the people's gold. And they are all poor. So we have to give them back. And they're like, what have the people ever done for us? And she's like, what have they done for you? Girl, they're poor. And they're like, well, they all kicked us out of the village. They called us uggos. Banish all the uglies. That's what they said to us. And they kicked us out of the village. And no one stood up for us. And Snow White is like, interesting, listening. So they all start talking about the careers they used to have, which eventually falls into them bickering amongst themselves. And Snow White takes the opportunity, takes the bag of gold, and runs to the village and gives it back to the people. Okay? The dwarves are like, this bitch stole the gold. They run after her. So Snow White is here. She's giving the gold back to the people. And they're like, you're a hero. And she sees the dwarves run up to get the gold back. And she's like, actually, I'm not the hero. They did it. They're the heroes. And so now everyone likes them again. And it's like, aw, cute, sweet. But you know what's not sweet? Armie Hammer eating a tiny chicken at the palace. He's with the queen and she is damn near about to propose to him because, again, she wants his gold. She needs his gold. And he is not fucking having it. He's like, where's Snow White? And she's like, Snow White? Oh God, that girl is crazy. She's dead. Anyway, let's get married. But before she really says, let's get married, Gay Butler storms in and is like, I got robbed by bandits. And Armie Hammer is like, bandits? And Gay Butler is like, bandits. And so they know that they got robbed by the same person, and Armie Hammer has a vendetta against these dwarves because he's ableist. He's like, I must go hunt these bandits. I'm sorry, my queen, but I will go. And so he goes. And while all of that is happening, they're like, all right, listen. And while all of that is happening, the dwarves call a team meeting. They're basically like, all right, Snow White, you can stay, but if you do, you have to be a thief also. And she's like, okay, interesting. Counter argument, whatever we steal goes back to the people. And the dwarves are like, all right, I can accept this. And so we get an epic training montage. She's flopping really hard, but all of a sudden when she finds her perfect outfit, which is this, she starts slaying. She becomes better than any of them. She's beating them in sword fights. She's beating them in mental exercises. She is a queen and she is a leader, okay? And she is going to fight Armie Hammer in the next scene. Yup. So Army Hammer is out hunting these dwarves, and Snow White stumbles onto their path and drops all of her stuff. Very damsel in distress, very, oh, like, won't someone help me pick up my apples? Well, the dwarves sneak in to steal from the guards, basically. And so she's doing this. Army Hammer's like, turn around, bitch. She turns around. Army Hammer? Army Hammer's like, Snow White? I thought you were dead. And she's like, well, obviously I'm not. And then the dwarves attack. He's like, get behind me. I'll protect you. And one of the dwarves flips over Snow White. She grabs the sword from his hand and starts to fight Army Hammer. Bitch. This is history. This is history, by the way. So Army Hammer is like, I can't believe you're such a traitor. You're with the bandits. And she's like, I'm a traitor. You're with the queen and you're a jerk. She's evil and I told you that. It's not like you didn't know. And I'm going to be honest, guys. I so do not like Army Hammer. I do not like Army Hammer in this movie. He's useless and he's a flop. Like, don't care. Next. So uninteresting. Honestly, I forgot he was in this movie until I rewatched it to write this. So that shows how much I care about Army Hammer. So they start fighting. He slices her hair down from the ponytail and she's like, no. And she looks and she serves cunt, but she's losing, all right? And they have this weird thing where Army Hammer keeps hitting her on the butt. But she gets cornered, basically, and loses her sword to him. And so she picks up a rock. And he's like, oh, you're going to pelt me with the rock. You're going to pelt me with the rock. And so she throws the rock into a tree. The tree puts Snow on a horse behind Army Hammer. And the horse kicks Army Hammer down. Genius. The dwarves were like, you have to fight dirty. No one's going to expect it from you. And Snow White was like, seen and heard. I will do that. And so she did. So the dwarves and Snow White steal Army Hammer's clothes again and send him back to the queen. And he's like, we were surprised. And the queen was like, you were surprised by the people you were hunting down? And he's like, well, their leader was cunning. She, and the queen was like, she? And he was like, yes, she. Their leader is Snow White. And the queen is like, Snow White? Snow White's dead. And Gay Butler's like, yeah, Snow White's dead. She's dead, yeah. And so they get into a little tiff. Army Hammer's mad at the queen because he loves Snow White, but he's confused on his feelings because she's Slay Girl Boss. And he doesn't know how to feel about that. Julia Roberts storms out. She storms into the mirror dimension. And she's like, I want all of these bitches to pay. Like, I want Brighton to pay. I want Snow White to pay. Like, I want all of these bitches to pay. And mere Julia Roberts is like, there's a price to magic, girl. And Julia Roberts is like, does it look like I care about the fucking price to magic? Make them pay. And mere Julia Roberts is like, all right. And so she turns Brighton into a cockroach. I told you guys. Julia Roberts notices that her advances are not working on Army Hammer because he is in love with Snow White. So she has to go to more magical means. Love potion. Yes, she love potions him. But as it turns out, that's right, it was a puppy love potion. She basically turns him into a gigantic human dog hybrid. And she's like, oh, this is so worthless. All I needed was for you to marry me. And he's like, I'll marry you. I'll marry you. For sure, queen. And then they play fetch. But Snow White and the dwarves are having dinner when one of the dwarves comes back from the pub and is like, the queen's getting married to the prince. And Snow White is like sad vibes. She's like, what? How could he? And so she runs off into the forest to have some time alone because she's sad, which I think is very, very valid. Like, she has 7 roommates. You need to cry in the forest. But unfortunately, it's really bad timing because as soon as she leaves and gets far enough away, mere Julia Roberts drops a gigantic fucking puppet onto the dwarves. And they have to fight this motherfucker. So one of the dwarves shoots the gigantic puppet in the face. They're like, oh no. Julia Roberts drops another puppet. So they're 2 puppets. They run into their house. One of the puppets gets into the house and is like absolutely fucking terrorizing them. And Snow White hears and runs back. And she's like, oh, no, my friends. And so she, girl boss, cuts the puppet strings right at the last moment too. So it's the next morning. There's wedding preparations going on. The 7 dwarves wake up and they realize Snow White is gone and she has left a note. She's like, I realize now that the queen will target you as long as I'm with you. I have to leave. Goodbye. And they're all like, we should vote on what to do. And the leader of them, who was originally against Snow White, is like, no voting. We have to go after her. And at this point, I'm like, yes, go after her. Like, expecting it to be a big thing. They go outside. She's literally right there. This movie had me in my feelings at this point. I was sad. I was like, no, she left them. She was right there. Easy. So they all make up and they're like, all right, fine. We have to do something. Let's go rob the wedding. And so they do. They all sneak into the wedding. They sneak into the wedding. The dwarves do a little bit where they hide under people's skirts and they stack each other on top of trench coats. And so the dwarves and Snow White steal all of their money and clothes and the prince. And Julia Roberts shows up and she is like, oh, no, my prince. And all of the royals are like, bitch, our clothes. We want you removed from office. Okay. And she's like, where's my prince? And they're like, Snow White stole your prince, girl. Her wedding dress is beautiful, by the way. I know I keep saying that about every beautiful dress in this movie, but this is just incredible. It's just so beautiful. I wonder how long this took to make, because this is insane. The only other thing of note in this scene to happen is that yellow bitch with the fuck ass bob serves cunt. This is fantastic. My cousin actually dyed their hair this color once, and it looked great. So, anyway, Julia Roberts is like, when you want someone dead, Brighton, you have to do it yourself. Brighton is Gay Butler, by the way. I don't know if I've ever used his name because I keep calling him Gay Butler, but that's because that's what he is. So we cut to Snow White and the dwarves, and they're trying to break this curse on him by doing all sorts of shit. They're punching him in the face, they're boxing his ears, before one of them finally remembers, True Love's kiss. And Snow White's like, this is my first kiss. First kiss? Yeah, she's been locked up in the palace for 18 years. This is her first kiss. Anyway, the prince is like, no, please don't kiss me. I yearn for the nectar of the queen's skin. And everyone cringes because, oh my god, that's so funny. But the dwarves are like, well, honey, if this is your first kiss, you've got to be pretty. This has got to be as perfect as it can be for you. So we have a makeover scene. They give her a lipstick with strawberries. They rouge her cheeks. They put her hair up. It's very, very cute. And she kisses the prince and the spell is broken. Armie Hammer is like, girl, you taste like strawberries. He's probably bummed out that she didn't taste like human. I see what you are, Armie Hammer. Anyway, the beast shows up almost immediately after that to the dwarves' residence. And the beast is like, because at the same time, Julia Roberts is riding out to the forest. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but Julia Roberts has this magic necklace that's like a little crescent moon that sparkles and twinkles when the camera's on it. And you know who has that very same necklace? The beast. Yeah, so something's going on with this beast. And that something is that Julia Roberts controls this beast. She's like, Snow White, you're going to die. This beast is going to kill you. And it's going to be fun. And then she rides off. Girl, what happened to if you want to kill someone, you have to do it yourself? Whatever. Anyway, Snow White locked Armie Hammer and the 7 dwarves inside their house. And Armie Hammer has this fun little bit where he throws himself repeatedly against the door but doesn't break through. And they do that until the dwarves remember, oh yeah, this is our house. We have a key. So they hand the key to Armie Hammer and he's like, thank you so much. And then locks them in. Them being the 7 dwarves. What is this fuckassery? So Armie Hammer catches up with Snow White and they are both fighting the beast at this point. It's very cute. It's very, we're making our last stand together. When the dwarves remember, oh yeah, we have a spare key. So they unlock it and they all go out and they get their asses kicked. But it is not looking good for them. Like, they are getting beat the fuck up. All of them are concussed and they're trying to get this dagger desperately to Snow White. And so eventually they get it to her right as she's cornered by the beast. And she looks at the beast and the beast looks at her and widens its eyes. The beast is kind of cute vibes, by the way. Like, the beast is kind of Pokemon. Anyway, she sees the necklace on the beast's neck and she cuts through it. And a bright light explodes from the beast. And after the light subsides, who is in its place? The king. We never expected this one. After Snow White cut through the necklace, Julia Roberts starts withering away like the old hag that she is. And Julia Roberts in the mirror is like, yep, this is the price of magic, bitch. This is the price of magic. You're learning and you're paying. Would you like to cash app that? Or would you prefer PayPal? Just let me know. I can do a wire transfer. She starts withering away to nothing. Snow White is like, oh my God, Papa. And her Papa is like, you're old now. And she's like, yeah, you got turned into a beast for like 12 years of my life. So sad, by the way. That is so sad and heartbreaking that he just didn't get to see his daughter grow up. Anyway, Snow White and the prince get married. They get married. And Snow White is in this beautiful dress. This dress gets kind of a lot of hate. I think it's gorgeous because it's my two favorite colors, blue and orange. And she's got this gigantic fuck-ass bow in the back. Honestly, kind of love it, kind of serves. And at their wedding, who is there but Julia Roberts? She shows up to the wedding, gives Snow White an apple. I know you were thinking about the apple. You said this is Snow White. Where's the fucking apple? There's the apple, bitch. There's the apple. Snow White looks at it. She's about to take a bite. And Julia Roberts is like, for the fairest of them all. Snow White pauses. She looks. What did you say to me, bitch? What did you say? She pulls out her knife. Julia Roberts flinches. She's like, no. And she cuts a slice of the apple, she being Snow White, and offers it to the queen, Julia Roberts. She goes, I think it's good to know when we're being bested. Yes, or whatever she says, which is exactly what Julia Roberts said to her in the beginning of the movie. Anyway, the Mir-Ram collapses, the snow melts from the kingdom, and the movie ends, and it's happily ever after. All in all, this is a very cute little fairy tale rom-com movie. I like it very, very much. I used to be obsessed with it when it came out, but I forgot about it a little bit up until the most recent Snow White movie it was coming out, and I remembered, and I was like, oh yeah, Mirror, mirror. Anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. You know what to do if you did. And I'll see you in the next one.